All right, we're live. Welcome in. Oh, little echo. Welcome in, guys. Happy Monday. Lighting is a bit dark in here today. Gonna fix that with this. Ready? Bam. Bam. We're live. Welcome in, everybody. How is everybody doing? Where's Mike? Mike's coming tomorrow. Mike is on tomorrow morning. He's on with us. Mike will be on with us tomorrow morning. Welcome in, welcome in. How did everybody do on Friday? Everyone had a nice Friday. Friday, a little bit of eventful Friday. We'll talk about Friday session. A little bit of SPY action, right? SPY levels and SPY held pretty well. Amazon coming back. Amazon absolutely ripping back. Amazon doing what Amazon does. This is what Amazon does, right? This end of day reclaim at 212 into our Friday session. That's what caused a little bit of upside into close. And we are now back at that 215 level here in Amazon. So just a crazy chart, but it has met the move, right? It has done it. So if you guys were trading yesterday, our Friday session, it actually turned out to be a nice Friday. Just a little bit of choppy session start, but last week actually was quite nice. I think we're entering a nice week ahead of us as well. We have a lot of big data to talk about today. We're going to talk about everything that's going on this week. We have big CPI data, big PPI data, and we have some major charts. Blaine, 5 green days last week. Nice, absolutely nice. Hope everybody had a nice weekend. Hope everybody is well rested and is ready to dive in. Just confirming, can everybody hear me? Can everybody see me? Can everybody see the charts well? I know last Friday we had a little bit of technical issues off the morning, but I think this morning we are live and we're good. Yes, awesome, beautiful. All right, so let's give it a second and we'll jump ahead and we'll get started. All right, so let's get started, guys. So today's session obviously is Monday. It is June the 9th. In today's session, we don't really have much data today, so we'll talk mostly the charts today. But we're also going to talk about data going into Wednesday, Thursday. But we're going to spend a lot of time talking about our SPY chart. We're going to go over all of the levels from last week. We are going to talk about the major demand low on SPY, right? The demand low on SPY is 598. This is the massive level we have to talk about. This 598 level is not only important just because it's a SPY level, but it is also important because it is an ES major 6,000 level. So this morning session, this week ahead of us, I think the major level we are going to keep in the focal point in the focus is going to be our 6,000 ES level. The question becomes this morning and becomes this week is, do we turn this 6,000 level ES into support in which we can get the next leg higher, right? That is the question we're asking. Do we fail below 6,000, downside move, or do we hold 6,000, upside move? That's the big pivot going into our week ahead of us. And we are going to keep an eye on this as we progress throughout our trading session and our week ahead of us. We are going to talk about the QQQ chart. We are going to discuss the QQQ 530 level. A bit of a choppy session on the Qs on Friday. It was choppy pretty much all of last week. The question mark today is do we break 530 with conviction? Right now we are above 530. We are going to talk about the 530 level today's session, right? We're going to go over NVDA, massive bull flag, 143 level on NVIDIA. Does this consolidation lead to a leg higher? We're going to talk about AMD 118, 118.5, not really 119.5, 119.5 as your big level of resistance. We are going to talk about Amazon. We had the exact right idea with Amazon. Remember, we said Amazon above 212 has room into 215. Well, look at the hourly time frame. You're going to see it's exactly what happened. If you look at the 5-minute time frame, you're going to see it didn't just happen like that, right? It had to do this. It had to break out, pull back, break out, do a little bit of a reversion play, a little bit of consolidation, and then rip into end of day, right? So obviously Amazon did a choppy session on Friday, but the ultimate idea ended up working, and we moved to 215. But this is exactly where we spoke about Amazon was heading to, okay? So now there's going to be something that we're going to talk about here today. It's going to be the fact that we don't want to trade this today. Why? Because it has already met the move higher. It has already met the bull flag, right? And the question now becomes, do we break 215? If we do, different story. But we'll dive into this. Anyway, we'll go over Apple chart. We'll go over Apple. We'll go over Tesla downside. And we'll finish off the stream going over some tickers you guys are watching. So without hesitation, let's dive into our economic reports. Today's session, we don't have anything on the docket today. There's nothing of importance going into our morning session. The only thing that's important is really Wednesday, right? Wednesday, we have our CPI, our Consumer Price Index. As you guys know, many of you guys have been here for a long time. That's the Consumer Price Index. It measures inflation and the economy. Okay, as we progress into Wednesday session, what we'll do actually is we'll talk about it on Tuesday. So tomorrow's session, we will spend maybe 30 or 45 seconds going over some data, talking about what our previous CPI reads are at, and we'll talk a little bit about what we think CPI has to be for us to be in line, right? So we'll talk about it today. We're not going to talk about it. Thursday session, PPI, big data on Thursday as well, and then Friday we have our consumer sentiment data, and that is all we have on the week ahead of us. And this is really it's not incredibly important besides Thursday and Wednesday. That's it. That's all today. That's all this week is about. Okay. On the earnings docket, it kind of reiterates that, right? We are obviously closing out the earnings season, which means we don't really have many big earnings names reporting this week. Obviously Tuesday you have GME, GameStop. Wednesday you have Chewy, CHWY, and then on also Wednesday after hours we have Oracle. That could have an impact on some of your chip names or tech names. And Thursday session you have ADB, Adobe. That's it. That's all we have this week. Nothing incredible. That is going to help us focus a lot on our charts today, and that's going to be our first chart. Is going to be SPY. So. Before I do anything, I want to make sure we have people here. So we have 900 people here, and we have 200 likes. That's fine. Whatever. We'll yell at you guys later. Let's wait for some people. We'll go over charts. And I'll yell at you guys later. So on the SPY chart, SPY on Friday, we spoke about the idea of 598 being our long spot. This was our demand that we had on SPY, right? So demand on SPY was 598. Pretty much on Friday's session, we broke it. We saw a little maintenance above 598. We ripped off the open, we pulled back to demand, we saw some upside, pulled back to demand, some upside, and that was it. That was all our Friday. Our Friday session was a very muted Friday session. It could have been very dangerous on Friday. For most people, Friday session could be very, very dangerous. Why? Because it was a very muted, choppy session. Okay. Now on Friday, we ended up taking a long around here. We took a long on SPY here. Right as you got into our demand, we saw a little bit of step up in the market. I think either went long here at 1025 or 1120. I think it was 1025 went long on SPY, and we got a little bit of upside trade. And that was it. That was all I got on SPY on Friday session. Now the key thing to note is that the long spot from Friday session is still the long spot today. And the reason why I say that is because you can see the consolidation high, right? The 598, the 598, the 598 high, right? The Wednesday's highs and that crazy after hours highs that we produced from Wednesday into Thursday session, right? Remember that crazy little V-shape, the little V-shape reversion play, the real V-shape price action play back from Thursday into Wednesday, the 28th and 29th of May. That same high, 598, what produced the high Wednesday, 598, and that same Thursday high, right, into Wednesday high became the level on Friday, right? Friday, that was your little demand. Obviously, it wasn't really a beautiful trade, right? It was not like a spectacular, oh, we hit this level and ripped, but it still acted as support on Friday session. Now, going into our session ahead of us, it's still the same level. In order for us to have bullish sentiment going into our Monday session, we need to be above 598. So the main thing you should be watching for today is, can you set up a long opportunity here at 598? Because if you hold 598 today, upside. That's the first trade you're watching. The second thing to understand today is if we do fail below 598, if we see a little bit of a break and retest failure under 598, then I would be very cautious and hesitant of longing this market, because I think we move back down to 593, right? I think if we lose this 598 level, we should see trend price action back into 593. And the reason why I would argue that's the case is because there isn't really much between 598 and 593. Now, before we had 595 as a level, and we actually longed 595 on Wednesday session. We also longed it on Thursday session. But going forward, I don't really want to long 595 anymore, because you can see the clear channel low has become 593. So if we do lose 598, we should move back down to 593. So today's session, for bullish sentiment thesis to remain intact, we must hold 598 and that's the end all be all. Okay, we have to hold that level, and if you want to give it a few more cents, you could give it back down into this little demand lows. If you want to be smart today, this is the smartest thing you can do, is not just say 598, but adjust for that Friday low. And I think if you adjust for that Friday low of 597, you've now done a good job preventing yourself from going short back into demand, right? So you obviously 598 a level, but you don't want to short back into Friday's lows. So I would say the clear pivot this morning is a zone between 598 and 597. If you lose this 597, that is where we can get some downside plays back into 593. If we are holding this 598, 597 zone today, okay, then we should rip higher and make the next leg push above 601, okay? So the next level of resistance ahead of us is also going to be 601. So if we clear 601, that, in my opinion, is where we get the breakout trade into a higher push. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, if we break 601 today, our Friday's highs, then where do we go to? If we clear 601, where do we go to? If you zoom out for a second on the SPY chart, and we'll just take a quick second. I know we're spending a lot of time here in SPY, but it's important we do this, especially on Monday, because on Monday, this is how we start off our week. All these levels matter. So if you see on the 4-hour time frame, really the 4-hour time frame, if you go to the 4-hour time frame on SPY, you see 601. So 601, you can see 601 really isn't so important on the 4-hour, but the next big level above 601 is really 604. So 604 next big level, and then above 604, back into 610. We're pretty much back at all-time highs again. So that's where we are right now. We're actually quite close to all-time highs. If we clear 601, we should move higher back into 604. So the key thing to note, and this is the theme of today's session, the general theme of today's session is going to be watch the Friday's highs and the Friday's lows. If you clear Friday's highs, upside back at 604. If you clear Friday's lows, downside back into 598. And if you go to the ES chart now, on the ES chart, it's the same thing. So on the ES chart, you're going to see that we have a level at 6,005. Remember the 6,005 level on the ES's chart? This is a very big level from that little Wednesday into Thursday session of March 28th, March 29th. That same high produced a high on Wednesday session, June the 4th. We then came back into the level in Friday session, and in Friday session, this is where we long SPY. We long SPY back at this ES 6,005 level, right? We use 6,005 as our key pivot. We opened long here at 9:35 on ES chart, which was 10:35 Eastern Standard Time on the SPY chart, right? And so we went long here, got a little bit of upside trade, but you can see that we chopped around all day around this demand zone. The demand today to watch out for is still the same demand from Friday session. It's 6,005, and I would even argue, right? You know, this the same way we adjusted our demand on SPY's chart. I'm going to do the same thing on ES's chart, right? It's really to 59.90 in ES's chart. So the demand to watch out for today is this whole zone between 6,005 and 5,990. That's a $15 range here at ES's chart. It's a very wide zone. I usually don't like discussing zones this wide on the ES and SPY chart, but this, in my opinion, is necessary. The reason why is, ask yourself this. This is the question to ask yourself. If you see the market selling off today, right? If you see the market selling off today, you see it selling back down like this. You say, wow, market's moving lower, okay? If you short right here, under 6,005, the problem is you're still shorting back into a Friday low. That's the problem. If you're going to short today, under 6,005, you only have a very small few dollar move back down to 5,990. That's the problem. If you want to do this, you can do it, but you have to be absolutely surgical. That's why I'm saying today's session, we should probably adjust our zones for that bottom of Friday session low. And if we lose this Friday session low, then we can look for the continuation downside move back down into 5950, back down to this level. And that would be a very clean chart, a very clean downside day today. But as long as the market does this, we are still maintaining demand similar to what happened in Friday's session. And again, that level is 6,000 to 6,005 ES, all the way back down to 5990 ES. This whole zone over here for me is kind of like a DZ. It's a dead zone for me. I don't really want to be trading in this dead zone. I would be careful trading in a dead zone here, right? That's a dead zone. Back into this demand is kind of dead zone, right? Okay, so on the QQQ chart, on the Qs, it's not as clear, right? Not as clean, but we'll talk about it a little bit. You can see 530 is your level, right? My bias here on Qs is if we're above 530, we're bullish. If we're below 530, we're bearish. If you traded with that mindset last week, you absolutely killed it, right? Above 530, upside. Below 530, downside. Above 530, a little bit of upside, a little bit choppy session on Friday. You probably had a little bit of choppy session Friday on Qs. But besides that, it was mostly a pretty clean week on the QQQ using 530 as your clear pivot. Now moving forward into our session ahead of us. The level I'd watch out for on the Qs is simply still 530. If you clear 530 with conviction, we move higher back in 534. If we lose 530, we go back into 526. At this exact moment, I don't know what's going to happen here in the Qs. The QQQ is more bullish than bearish. Why? Because we are still above 530, but it's not that clear to me. So let's give it more time. It's Monday session. I think today's session we should be patient and see what the market's going to do, the direction it's going to pick, and then trade that trend as it presents. That is a QQQ chart. On the NQ chart, very briefly on the NQ. On the NQ chart, you can see the levels are pretty clear. 21,565. And you have a resistance above us at 21,940. Those are your big two levels today. Demand below and supply above. Arguably, so the most logical kind of question here is going to be, Brett, you're showing us a big supply and a big demand. On the Qs chart, you're showing us a big supply and a big demand. But where's the 530 on the NQ? So if I'm talking about 530 in QQQ, but I'm not showing any level in between here on the NQ chart. On the NQ chart, the level I'd watch out for is actually 21,756. It's that level right there. It's not so clean to me right now here on the NQ chart, right? It's not so clean to me. It's not so clean to me in the QQ chart. And sometimes, I'll tell you this, sometimes it is more clear, but right now it is not. I think we must wait for more data here to have more clarity. Sometimes when it's not clear like this, you simply just leave it alone. On the NQ chart, on the QQ chart today, I will leave it alone. I will put more emphasis on the SPY chart because the SPY chart has some more clarity regarding that 598 level. And I think that is a clear thing to watch out for today. 598 demand, 601 supply. Those are the two biggest levels we have in front of us going into our Monday session, okay? So obviously, below 598 downside, above 598 upside, above 601, more upside, back into 604. And that's your next level of major resistance, okay? So those are all of our indices this morning. I am now going to move on to our charts. We are going to talk about our main tickers of today's session. Before we do that, we have 1,200 people here this morning. And now I'm going to get crazy about the likes. We have 300 likes here, which is pretty damn bad. Let me get some hydration and we'll dive into our charts. Everybody is sleeping today. Why is everybody sleeping? It looks like the chat is absolutely dead this morning. I'm the only one with energy, right? Okay. So let's move on. Let's talk about it. Well, let's start off with NVIDIA. So on the NVIDIA chart, NVDA, something that I want to talk to you guys about this morning is this beautiful bull flag. And what we're going to do, Fancy, thank you, Fancy. Fancy's here. I knew Fancy was missing. I wasn't sure where she was, but she's here. Fancy is here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Fancy, for always supporting us. Okay, so on the NVIDIA chart, something that happened before. Right, remember we talked about NVIDIA and this consolidation bull flag for a while, right? And this consolidation took about 14 days, 13 to 14 days, right, of consolidation. And we also compared this consolidation to the consolidation over here, right? And I mean, systematically, NVIDIA has just been doing this. It's been upside, consolidation, upside, consolidation, upside, consolidation, upside, big consolidation, upside, big consolidation, okay? The question becomes now, where does NVIDIA go moving forward? So if you measure this here to here, it's 13 days, okay? 13 days, give or take. If you measure the consolidation that we're in right now here in NVIDIA, it's pretty similar. It's about 10 days, right? 12 days now with the weekend hitting. NVIDIA is setting up, in my opinion, for a big move here. Now, if we're going to break out, the breakout is going to occur here above 144, right? Above 144 is where we have a breakout move on NVIDIA, and we can see the next leg continuation play here. And if you look at this chart here on the 1 hour time frame, you're going to see something spectacular. If you break 144 here in NVIDIA, you should, in theory, see a move back into 150. This is a really, really gorgeous chart, right? Because regardless, what's going to happen here is it's going to make a big move. And let me explain this to you. And the reason why it's going to make a big move is this. If it breaks out here, it's going to move into 150. And we know that, right? But when I tell you this, trust me, a lot of other people are thinking the same thing. So if NVIDIA does break out, let's just say it does this, it does a little bit of a little upside, right, and then fails. We also could get a big downside move going into this week as well. So this week is going to be incredibly important on NVIDIA, and I'm actually I obviously right now it's more biased towards bull, right? We obviously are look like we're lagging higher right now, but we could trade this both ways. Either we're going to trade this for a long side breakout trade above 144 because that's the general grain of NVIDIA, which we can look for an upside trade back at 150, right? Or we're going to look for we're going to wait to see if this fails 144. And if it does, we have the most logical short and a move back down to 136 and potentially below that level. So again, NVIDIA, really nice chart, setting up for a beautiful long this morning, but let's see how the long actually plays out. Does it break out? If it breaks out, we can look for upside back at 150. If it fails, we could look for a move play back at 136. So this morning on the video, very important. I like this right now, obviously more for a breakout trade above 144 for longs. Okay, really nice chart, probably on top watch going into our Monday morning session. Okay, AMD 119.50, simply 119.50. The highs from last week, Thursday highs. If you want continuation on AMD, you need to see us break above 119.50. And what James Wilson just said in the chat is exactly right. We are watching these levels right now as breakouts because the general grain of the market on NVIDIA, on AMD is bullish. But that's what everyone else sees too. So if we see these levels fail, we could obviously flip bias and go short. Right now, the grain is still bullish, and it doesn't look trappy yet, but it could trap people. We must be open to the idea of both directions today. As of right now on AMD, though, I am more sided towards a breakout. Why? Because the general grain of AMD is still bullish. We have an upside move, upside move, upside move, and in all these upside moves, we are maintaining higher lows. The formation of these higher lows is what makes this a bull trend. And now if we can clear 119.5, we can look for an upside trade, a break, a retest, pull back long, and an upside trade back into the bull flag here, 122. So watching this today as a top watch as well is a break and hold above 119.50 for longs. Okay, that's AMD. On the AVGO chart, AVGO dead, right? AVGO a little bit of deadliness, right? And this is something that I want you guys to understand is what makes a stock bullish, what makes a stock bearish. Right now, AVGO is actually flipping back bearish. I want to talk about both sides. And on the chip side this morning here in AVGO, you can see obviously higher low, higher low, higher low. We have a series of higher lows over here, and obviously we now have lost that higher low, and we're forming lower highs. This, to me, on AVGO is bearish. I don't know what's going to happen here, but as of right now, as long as we're under that 256 level, we are actually in a bearish formation, and you should be looking for pop and fades here on AVGO, right? So a little bit of a complete twist on chips. Usually you want to see chips moving together, right? You want to see your AVGO, your TSM, your NVIDIA, your AMD moving together. AVGO you're seeing move against the overall chip sector. And if you look at the SMH for a second, here in the SMH chart, on the SMH chart, if I can pull it up properly, you're seeing that SMH still is resilient, right? And why is the SMH resilient? Because, again, those other chip names are still strong. On your SMH chart this morning, you want to see it maintain 252. If SMH is above 252, we're bullish, and we should be looking for mostly upside trades on chips. So again, even though I'm saying bearish just on AVGO, right, it's just kind of uniquely bearish. The chips on their own, the sector itself is still maintaining strong. Okay, so obviously NVIDIA, AMD, looking for breakout trades if it does break out, right? And then obviously we'll see what happens going forward. Okay, Tesla chart. Tesla is absolutely still bearish. In my opinion, Tesla, as long as it is under the daily 200 SMA, is not a long for me, right? The 200 SMA here on Tesla is at 305. And you can see that what happened on Friday's session was we saw a beautiful breakdown on Tesla, a pop back in 305, and a failure, right? Going into our session in front of us, I think the level to add to our charts, you should be adjusting for this now, is simply 305. If we are under 305, I don't like this for longs. Again, the reason why is we are rejecting off the daily 200 SMA, right? What does this look like to me? This is just a bear flag, right? I will be cautious of going long in this chart. Where does it move to? I think it probably moves back down to 272, right? That's where I'd expect this to move back down to now. As long as we're under, you can see over here, right? The past few times we've seen rejections under 295, we move back to 273. So today's session, as long as we're under 295, I would expect the general grain of Tesla to be a selling grain, and back down to 272 is the most likely scenario. So again, that's what I would expect today's session. As long as we're under 295, back into 272. If we reclaim 305, if that happens, if we get a strong reclaim above our 305 level, in my opinion, above 305, that's where you can look for those longs again, right? That's where we get the long side trades, and you can look for a squeeze move higher. So today's session is simply about 305. Are we below 305? If then bearish. Are we above 305? If then bullish. Okay, that's the big thing to watch out for going into our Tesla chart. Can you look for more upside moves? On Tesla, it's only 305, right? For me, I don't really like anything besides 305, and you may get some demand below here at that 272, right? There's going to be support here at 272, and there's going to be resistance here at 305. But I can't change the stock, right? I can't change the stock. I can't just say, guys, let's all go long Tesla today. I can't say that, right? The reason why I can't say that is because as a technical trader, the only way I can go long on a stock is if I see it start breaking an uptrend. Right now, it's simply just forming higher or lower highs. And so the only way we can really logically say this is now a bull chart is if you get back above 305. You guys must understand that. I'm not just attacking Tesla because I hate Tesla. I'm attacking Tesla because I hate the fact that it's in a downtrend, right? And in order for this to clear a downtrend, it has to clear 305. Let's remain unbiased and focus on levels, okay? Next chart is going to be let's go over Apple. On the Apple chart, Apple, in my opinion, Apple has a decent, someone said, let it crash. Let it crash and burn. That's crazy. Above what is it, 205 I have here on Apple, but you can see obviously the level should be adjusted right now. I would say Apple, it does have some juice to it, but you want to see it clear above 205.70, right? And even really just above just keep it to 206, right? Just adjust for 206. I would say above 206, we can look for upside here, right? Above 206, you have upside back in 207.50. So if you're watching Apple today, this to me it's not like that strong, but it is bullish. The reason why it's bullish is because you're seeing a strong maintenance of demand below here at 200, and you're starting to see it sort of get alive now. It's starting to get alive here after holding demand. The question becomes, can it clear 206? If it can clear 206, then we can look for upside back in 207.5. So not a crazy upside potential here, but we do have a potential play in front of us. It's going to be a break and hold above 206. If you clear 206, look for longs back into 207.50. And yes, that's exactly right. Sue just pointed out it is a WWDC event today, right? So we do have I think it's a WWDC event today, or it's this week. I forget the exact day it is, but I'm pretty sure it's this week, and it is the WWDC. So obviously be aware of that going into our session ahead of us. So again, watch Apple. IV is probably gonna be very high going into WWDC, but I keep it on the back burner because if it does get strong, it will get strong above 206. Okay, Amazon's chart. So this Amazon chart is so, I mean, I've traded Amazon so many times, so I know the way it works. I ended up, I'll tell you this transparently, right? So on Friday session, I got a beautiful break and pullback retest here on Amazon for a long entry here. I longed it back into these pullbacks right over here, and then bam, it failed right here. I stopped out right over there and walked away for a small loss. I then ended up just buying back into it towards the middle of the afternoon. Why? Because Amazon always does this. It's notorious for doing this. When it breaks out early morning session, it can lure in everybody and it looks phenomenal, right? If this were on an NVDA chart, if this were on a Tesla chart, if this were on even an Apple chart, it would have gone that session off the open. But of course, this is Amazon. Amazon does not do that. Amazon fails, and then end of day reclaims the same level, and that's where you got the continuation play back at 215. The problem with Amazon is, I think you just have to be a trader that holds off of hourly time frames. And this is something that's so important. For me, predominantly as a 5-minute trader, I have a hard time holding for long periods of time, holding for 4, 5, 6 hours. But if you are a trader that kind of goes off these larger time frames, on the 5-minute can be tricky, right? But if you look at the 1 hour time frame here in Amazon, and the general structure never broke on Friday. And that is why Amazon just maintained, right? Look at the general structure. Beautiful structure coming in, and then big leg higher into afternoon session. This happened on Friday. I'm sure many of you guys probably came out nice and positive on Friday. And if some of you guys didn't, it's okay because again, it was choppy. It was a tough session on Amazon going in that morning session. But of course, now it's back at 215. It's back at that level that we were talking about on that Thursday, Friday session. And at this point, now what does Amazon do? I would not touch Amazon anymore, right? The only way I would touch Amazon or Scamazon in the chat, it's exactly right, is if it clears 215, right? If it clears 215, yes, there's a potential upside trade here, right? Do you want to get crazy again at Amazon after it was all scammy on Friday? I don't know. But from a technical standpoint, you can see here we have a beautiful bull flag high here at 215. We've met the move already. We've met the bullish move already. So at this point, you should be scaling out of your positions. If you're swinging this, if you held it in the Friday, now at the Monday, I would be out of this trade going forward and let it break out, right? If it breaks out, you can look for a continuation breakout trade above 215 and an upside trade back at 220, right? This could be a potential trade. Just because Amazon was choppy on Friday, it doesn't mean we're going to say, screw Amazon, I'm never trading this ever again, right? I know people have PTSD in this chart. I know it does it too. But above 215, that is where another leg higher comes in back into 220. So keep it on the back burner. If it does happen, that is where we get upside here at Amazon chart. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to dive into the charts you guys are watching. I know I spent a lot of time today on indices, so I apologize for that, but it's important we do it because we must be prepped on the indices in more detail on Monday than any other day. So let's move on. PLTR, I'm reading the chat now. I'll go through as much as I can. So PLTR on Friday session, on Friday, what are you, right? If you are a PLTR trader, what are you? Don't just say it in the chat. Again, I want to repeat this over and over again. If you are a PLTR trader, what are you? Ask yourself this. What's the number in PLTR? What's the number in PLTR? In the chat, can you guys say it? 125 trader. That's Sue got it first. All right, so 125 trader. You're just 125, right? It's simply just that. Everything else on these charts just don't matter to me right now. I'm just seeing there's so much at 125. There's so much price interest at 125. All morning, rejections. And then finally, 125 breaks, breakout, retest, upside trade. This morning, we are above 125. If we are above 125 or bullish, you should be looking for this today. Look for a flash sell on 125, a hold here, upside reversion play. That's it. That's all you're looking here today on PLTR. If you fail this 125, don't go long it. Look for shorts back in 120. That's it. That's all we have here on PLTR. Don't trade any other level besides that. I would keep it to that moving forward. The reason why 125 is so important, just to reiterate, is the fact that it's at major previous highs. It's also, if you zoom all the way out, or is it also no, it's not. Okay, no, I'm wrong over here. But again, 125 still is the main level to watch out for going forward. Okay, moving on. HIMS, HIMS, HIMS. So here you can see you have a very beautiful consolidation here. Very beautiful consolidation. And I would argue this is a beautiful bull flag. Is my mouse dying here? No. My mouse is like slow right now for some reason. Here on the HIMS chart, you can see a very beautiful bull flag. Now, this bull flag is nice, but where are the actual levels? You can see a very clear level here at 60. So the big level resistance is 60. I think that you were obviously gearing up for a breakout here, right? As long as we're holding 54.50 here, 54.50, 55 really. As long as we're holding 55, we are maintaining that bull flag. So I would say this: if you're gonna long this HIMS chart, you're either gonna go long off 55, the same level from Friday, long 55, or you're gonna wait for a breakout above this 60 level. So either above 60 for a break and retest trade, or you're gonna long 55. That's it. In my opinion, the best trade is gonna be the continuation trade here above 60, because if that happens, we should see a play back at 67. So watching that as a main watch here on HIMS is that little break and retest trade here above that 60 level. Okay. Moving on, NVO, nothing here on NVO. It's just bullish, right? It's just larger time frame bullish, reacting off of a major level. You guys probably are in NVO. I'm sure many of you guys are in equity in NVO. It's moving strong. That's it, right? And continue holding this one, right? And this probably goes back into, I would say at this point, this probably goes back into 95, right? That's where it goes back into, right? As long as it's holding this trend line now, back in 95, okay? Meta, last ticker, Meta, right? A little bit of Meta action here. Be careful, right? Ring the bell, ring the bell. 700 here on Meta. I don't know. I don't really think I want to be long in this Meta's 700 level, right? I think you should be patient right now. This is big supply, right? Ring the bell, raise the siren. This is not what you want to see here at 700, right? Obviously, if it clears 700, next leg higher, but I think this is a big resistance to watch out for. Major level of resistance. Guys, thank you all for joining in. I am going to end it here. I appreciate everybody who joined in this morning. It's Monday. Let's have a good week. We had a good week last week. Let's continue our momentum going into a week ahead of us, and let's absolutely kill it. Thank you all for joining in. I'll see you guys all for live trading. Bye, guys.